Hey, first of all, congratulations on the film. I really enjoyed watching it last night.
Thank you so much, Mariska. It's a fun movie. I love it.
How have you been doing so far, though? How have you been hanging in there? All good?
Yeah, not bad. This is for me. This has been a good test on kind of just breathing through everything and taking some time for myself and getting centered a little bit. And I'm learning how to work out at home, which has been a challenge. So, how are you doing?
Right. Good, good. Everything's great. And obviously saw this movie. It was entertaining. I loved it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to have this chat with you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a great movie. I think it's a perfect movie for families right now, and it's giving people it's putting smiles on people's faces and stuff.
Yeah. So what's your history with the Sonic the video game series? Had you played the game growing up?
Yes, yeah. So the Sega Genesis was the first console when I was a kid that I could really call my own, and it was mainly Sonic 2 that I played. That was my favorite game growing up. And then I played Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles and all that stuff. And so, to what, like 20 years later or something, to have the opportunity to audition and then book the role of Agent Stone, on Sonic the movie was it's so cool.
It was so much fun watching this relationship play out between Robotnik and Stone. I
I
heard there was
loved
a
it.
lot of improv involved.
Yeah, it was improv in the sense of what was initially on the page in the screenplay. Stone was mainly kind of like the straight guy in the sense of like no not much humor. So they had written him in order to have Robotnik engage with someone. And then after our first day, chatting with Jim and chatting with Jeff Fowler, our director, and the writers, we started to come up with these great ideas of like these fun little things between Stone and Robotnik, and it just continued to grow. And it was amazing. It was amazing to just be able to improv off of Jim Carrey, who's one of the greats of our generation.
Right. So since your character isn't established in the games, did you enjoy having that sort of freedom to put a spin on your own character, on this character?
Yeah. I think I was fortunate in a sense that he wasn't based on anybody really, but we also tried to play into historically what the right hand man of a bad guy would be, like the lackey or whatnot. But tried to make Stone a little bit smarter and think for himself.
It was definitely fun to see the relationship between them just play off of each other. You could see that you're feeding it off each other. Jim Carrey is returning to his comedic styling roots with this one. So how did you manage to keep a straight face while you're sharing the screen with him?
It was so hard. It was so hard, Mariska. Especially there were two scenes in particular that were difficult. There's the scene where he grabs me by the inside of my mouth, and that wasn't written again. So that was something that we came up with together. And Jim was just trying to figure out, like, he was like, Robotnik would be frustrated, he'd be angry, he'd want to do something to you. And I'm like, what do you have in mind? And he was like, I wanna grab, can I grab you by your mouth? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It was just, but then once we started it was so hard. And then there's the scene where he takes the Sonic quill and sticks it to his tongue and like zaps himself. That one was the hardest scene for me to keep a straight face.
Really? Is there a scene that you had to shoot multiple times? Would you say was it that scene?
Oh yeah, I think both those scenes, there were a couple of moments where I'm just like, I'm kind of doing this with my mouth. I'm trying not to laugh. I'm looking away. I was just trying to figure out ways to not ruin the scene.
I'm actually loving the fan reactions. I didn't know it was just so crazy, especially there's the shipping, there's the fan art. Were you aware of all these fan reactions?
I am aware of them. I try to engage with my fans as much as possible, which I love. But I think when we were initially filming it and when I initially got the job, uh, I had no clue. I had no clue that Agent Stone would become such a fan favorite. You know what I mean? And even after I think the first trailer came out and he had one little scene, it was the doctor thinks you're basic, and immediately people were starting to do fan art, and they were saying Agent Stone is all of us that have had to work for like bad bosses and everything. So it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing.
Since this is your first big budget, I would say, film that you're on the set of, what is the one thing that actually surprised you the most?
It's tough because a lot of times you hear, you tend to hear some negative things about bigger productions, especially when there's a lot of money involved. You know, people's feelings are running high. Sometimes people get mistreated on certain sets. So for me, I was just trying to expect as little as possible coming into that set. And my first day, it was such a breath of fresh air. Jeff Fowler, our director, such a warm human being, big-hearted, and the producers and the writers and the whole crew here in Vancouver, and Jim, big heart, very generous, very giving. You immediately feel like you're part of the family, like the moment you stepped on that set, and that was a delight, you know.
That's nice. So to Canadians, is there anything Canadianness that you talked about on set or off?
Jim was talking about how much he missed Canada. That was really cool, just and healthcare. We were talking about healthcare. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, you know why? You know why Canadians are happy? Because of the healthcare.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes, I think I would say, is from Tom Hanks. He said earlier this year was that you're dope if you don't learn from every person that you've ever met. So I'm probably going to steal his quote and ask you that. Like, what is the one thing you learned or more of a picked up from either Jim Carrey or from the set that you've worked on?
I try to learn as much as possible from every job I get and every opportunity I get. I think with Jim, it's. I mean, he's been doing it for over 30 years at such a high level. So when he steps on that set, he knows exactly where the cameras are going to be and what needs to be done. And so watching him, I just learned even more about work ethic. He's such a hard worker, and he likes to go until we start to get it right, until we feel like, okay, I think we're good to move on. So I think it was about just, again, the great actors. I think they own their time, and you listen to your gut. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. If there were a sequel for this, what would you like to see Stone go through next? What would be the next?
Oh, that's a great question. If there's a sequel, and if Stone comes back, I'd love to see a moment. There's a couple of things. I'd like to see a moment, like, why is he an agent? Like, what makes him a good secret agent? You know what I mean? Like, he's working for the government. Now he's working for Robotnik.
That's true. I'd like to see that, but you know what? I'd actually also like to see Stone come to the rescue of Robotnik. And
that's right, yeah? Carry him away like a damsel in distress with explosions in the background.
That would be so fun to watch.
It's so great. In slow-mo.
Yeah, in slow-mo. Sonic has this bucket list as well of what he'd like to accomplish or take off. So what's on your bucket list, the top 3 things?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Top 3 things on my bucket list. That's a tough. Sonic, like, checked off so many of those. Working on a video game, working with Jim Carrey, a large budget production. I've never thought of it, actually. You caught me. Bucket list? Like, off the top of your head, do you have one?
Bungee jumping, because I'm more adrenaline junkie. I love like extreme sports. So yeah, bungee jumping, sea diving, deep sea diving.
That scares the heck out of me. That stuff. You know what I'd like to learn? I'd like to learn like how to sword fight for a movie.
That's a good one.
Like heavy sword fighting. And another one of my dreams as a kid was to play Wolverine. So I don't know.
That was leading into my next question, was like, career-wise, do you have like a dream bucket list?
Up there for sure, like in the dreams of it is I've always wanted to play a character like Wolverine, or also war films really tend to I love like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, and movies about an entourage, like a tight-knit group that go through a journey together and have to come out the other side. Like that's definitely something I'd want to do.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you get to complete these things on your bucket list. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. And lastly, once this all ends and we go back to a new normal, what's the first thing you want to do when you get back?
I haven't seen some friends in a while, so I'm gonna give some big long hugs once we're allowed to. Yes. Some friends, and I miss the coffees and like the chats over a lunch or a dinner. Some of the best talks with my friends happen through that.
And project-wise, what's next for you?
Nothing right now. You know, we were before everything shut down, so I think everything's on hold right now. And you know, I've been trying as I've learned more throughout the career and learning more about myself. I try to just, you know, in a sense, sit back and let the universe take care of it. You know, I stay prepped. I'm trying to stay as sharp as possible, and whatever opportunities present themselves, we'll go from there.
Well, hopefully, yes, we get to go back to that normal life. Wishing you all the best, and thank you so much for the chat. It's
Thank you so much.